What's up guys, this is Balázs from Racing Brick. Today I will show you all the interesting building details of this tiny little set, the 10303 Loop Coaster. I already made a preview about it, hopefully you saw it. Today we will focus on the build itself and especially the functions. But that's not all. I have the powered up components to motorize it, and I also have the good old 10261 roller coaster set with me, so we will do a nice little comparison too. A huge thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring today's video, more about them later. So, here is the massive box of the set. The black background sort of works as it emphasizes the colors of the build, but honestly, the box of the previous roller coaster looked way more fun. There's one Easter egg here though that I like. The build is so tall, it cannot fit on the front of the box, so the tip of the tower is actually on the top. The back of the box shows some details, the powered up accessories recommended for a potential motorization, and the very impressive dimensions. Now let's open it. The set has 3756 pieces, the price is €400 or dollars, and it is already available on LEGO.com and in LEGO shops worldwide. There's an inner white box as well in the big one. We really get tons of bags. There are 15 building phases apparently. The paper bag with the manuals and the sticker sheet is visibly full. If LEGO keeps making such huge sets, then they need to produce thicker envelopes as well. The sticker sheet, on the other hand, is surprisingly small. At the beginning of the manual, we get an overview about the different fairground sets produced so far, then a short intro about the Loop Coaster concept, a few words from the design team, and that's all. Not much extra information here. The first bag has the cars, the figures and all the accessories, but I will show them together with the finished build. Now let's start building the main item. This is how the base looks like after the second phase. Doesn't look that different from the previous build yet. This is the state after phase 3. You can already see how the towers are constructed. A lot of familiar support elements are returning. There are some new techniques though, like these horizontal support structures here, or the angled one with a special piece at the end. This one appears here as well with some Technic connectors holding it. Something to pay attention to, these two curved elements look very similar, but they are actually different. The one with the diagonal rods in it is flat, the other one without them goes down. It's easy to swap them accidentally. Here's the expanded base at the end of phase 4. This is basically the full footprint of the build. It is pretty sturdy so you can lift it up, but we will see how it works when everything is in place. The connection points with those jumper plates are interesting, not sure how the tower elements will be held in place. Now a bigger jump, we are at the end of phase 7. The two loops are already in place, and you can see how they are supported with the different assemblies. Some nice little Easter eggs, like the ladybug here in the corner, or the balloon stuck under this pillar. I really like the complex connection points. We have studded and studless Technic elements together with some snot assemblies. They are pretty cool. All support structures seem to be sturdy. The track elements are held in place properly. Lateral movement is possible though, so don't put it in a windy area. I need a wider angle going forward. This was our build so far, and this is the massive assembly for the tower. It is far from being finished, but it's already very tall. It's already quite sturdy, although it wasn't always the case during building. Technic axles are holding together these columns here. Building it was quite repetitive, I have to confess. We have many similar assemblies and tons of tiles to apply. So, here's again the tower. It's even bigger now. You need to pay attention when you try to pick it up. Don't try to grab it here, for example. And now the moment of truth. Let's try to put it in place. It's not the easiest task as you see, and I will show you why. I expected to have some connection points to those jumper plates you could see previously, but the bottom of the columns is completely flat. So apparently we need to put the whole construction roughly in place and then use these Technic L-beams to connect those Technic pins and axles on the columns and on the connection points of the base. If we try to take a very close look, we can see that the columns and the other parts don't touch the base. There's a tiny little gap. Everything is held in place by those Technic beams only. I really like how these double curved track pieces are used to form this shape here, instead of creating yet another new track piece. How cool is this? I also like the loop sign created on the front with the tiles, especially with the double loop hidden in it. So, is this secure enough? We will see soon. But before that, do you know what else might need more security? Your computer and your internet connection. And that's why you would need Surfshark VPN. But what is a VPN? It's short for Virtual Private Network. It's an app or browser extension that basically keeps your online identity safe by encrypting all the information between your computer or smart device and the internet. It means all your personal data is protected and safe. If you make purchases online regularly, yeah, we all know you do since you are a LEGO fan, then you better secure your data. It is particularly useful if you are using a public Wi-Fi service on the go, since that LEGO deal cannot wait, but Surfshark can do much more. Surfshark has more than 3,200 servers in 95 countries, and you can change your virtual location with a few clicks only. Let's say you want to see what's going on at LEGO Masters US, but you only see this single video on their YouTube channel. No problem, just change your virtual location, refresh, and boom, you have access to the GeoBlock content. Use my promo code RACING to get 83% off and 3 extra months for free. Click on the link in the description below. Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can try the service risk-free and you can use your account on an unlimited number of devices. Now let's get back to the build. Despite the weird image here, these two track pieces are actually identical. This is the elevator, the next huge single-piece component with the chain. It has Technic gears on both ends, 222 standard and 33 wide chain elements, and tons of similar ties to apply, so yeah, if you don't like monotony, then it might be a good idea to outsource this building step as well. This one has a studded connection at the bottom, but nothing holds it yet at the top, so you better be careful with it. Now comes the car of the elevator that will wrap around the column. It has several specific wheels inside and a very long string attached. At the front, it has a slightly angled platform that will hold the cars while they are lifted up. It has completely legal connections, but it messes with your brain easily for the first sight. Mounting this assembly is a challenge again. The elevator column itself is not stable as yet, so you need to pay attention. Whoops, this assembly was mounted incorrectly. I have to rotate it. That one connects to this end cap on the top of the elevator support and makes the whole assembly way more stable. You can see now how the car will move up and down. These wheels will guide the string, and then comes the counterweight that is made of a big pile of stacked plates to make it heavy. And there are two roller coaster cars hidden in the structure that will allow it to ride on the track at the back. Time to attach the string to the counterweight, and here's a nifty little technique to guide the rope with that red bar. This assembly with the rubber Technic connectors acts as a ratchet to be able to wind up the string. Now it's time to put the counterweight in place. The string goes here, and then I need to push it on the tracks, then wind up the string as the weight needs to be in a specific position according to the instructions. Here we add a couple of axles. They will drive this clever assembly that acts as a brake for the cars but also pushes them in position to the elevator. Oh, by the way, did you know that white Technic half bushes are available again? Pretty cool. So, the assembly is in place, time to add some more track pieces, and then comes the crank mechanism that will drive the whole thing, and it is also prepared to be motor driven here at the top. The next item is the station, first the support, then the main assembly. It uses 5 track elements for the roof, which is cool, and I like how these tiles with clips are used as a cover. There are photos inside from the ride, and no, the stickers are not applied upside down. The camera captures the moment when you are upside down in the second loop. We are almost at the end, and this is probably my favorite mechanism in the whole build. This thing has a key roll, and the installation is not the easiest, but I'll be able to show you what it does in a minute. Our very last item is this tree, and the build is finished, and it is still huge. Now here are the 3 cars we built in the first phase. They are very similar to the ones from the previous roller coaster. Time to do our first test, and we have some non-promising noises, and it's a fail apparently. Let's take a closer look at it. As I see, the chain is too loose and it can skip on the gear. Let's try to remove one piece and see what happens. Now it's more promising, and yeah, success! Let's take a closer look at the mechanism itself. The magic trick is the interaction between the wider chains and the red pair of wheels in there. When the top of the wider section reaches the wheels, the whole assembly is lifted up by the chain. At the top, the chain disappears at the exact position where the elevator is aligned with the tracks, giving enough time for the cars to leave the platform. Once the wider section ends, nothing holds the platform in place anymore, it slides down. The counterweight on the other side slows down the descent. Meanwhile, the cars reach this gear that pushes them forward, but they are stopped by these red bionicle toothpieces. Once the platform reaches the bottom, its weight pushes down this assembly that lets the car slide on the platform. Then the whole process starts again. Now let's say what the manual says about the motorization. You can see the powered up battery box and the large motor here, and the photo where the motor should go. It is really as simple as that, but I find the text a bit misleading. As it says, it gives you the option of controlling the loop coaster via the Powered Up app. Well, some Powered Up components have this ability, but this battery box on the photo won't give you that option for sure. This one has 2 ports and 2 mechanical switches, no Bluetooth connectivity or anything else. To have that ability, you need this hub, or this hub, or this hub. These all will work with the Powered Up app. But I think it's actually better to use the dumb version. As the motor runs continuously, there's really nothing to be controlled with the app. It only makes things more complicated. So here's a test with the motor. I can say that it runs okay continuously, but I definitely wouldn't leave it unattended at an exhibition, for example, as issues might happen. Like this one here. Or this one here. Here are all the minifigs included in the set. I like their variety, there's a lot of playability potential here. The additional builds are also nice. We get a bench with a map and a squirrel. I love the balloon cart, especially the tiny transparent balloon animals. There's a pretzel cart and a hot dog stand. Apart from the Easter eggs you've seen during the build, we have a nice entrance with a height marker and things you are not allowed to bring in, squirrels included, then a short road to the boarding station that has the photos and the opening barriers. And now it's time to compare it to the previous version. I keep this one on this piece of wood, it would be impossible to move without it. The Loop Coaster's manual shows you how to move it around, but I wouldn't do that frequently either. These two barely fit on my photo table together, you really need some space if you want to display both. I made a review about this roller coaster last year. If you want to know the details, then you can watch it by clicking on the link in the top right corner. Now let's focus on the similarities and the differences. First of all, the dimensions are very different. The new Loop Coaster is very tall, almost 1 meter, but the footprint of the build is actually much smaller than the one of the previous version. You can see their dimensions on the screen. From the aesthetics point of view, I like the color scheme of the new one better. It has a sleek, modern look, or maybe I just got used to the look of the old one. But the first version looks more like a complete roller coaster. The new one has the fancy loops and the huge tower, but it lacks the volume and the complexity of a real-life roller coaster ride. Regarding the minifigures and the accessories, I don't think there are big differences, it's really up to your personal preference. Now let's see the functionality. You just saw how the Loop Coaster works with a single crank, let's recap the previous one. There are more things to do here, and we get 2 trains instead of 1. The unused one can be parked back here and deployed if needed. The crank in the middle can be used to launch the train. That mechanism can also stop it at the boarding station. Once the train reaches the chain, you can use the other crank to pull it up to the top. The same mechanism drives a couple of wheels at the top that will push the cars around the curve and launch the train at the end. This set can be also motorized, and if you use the boost hub and the color and distance sensor, then there's a built-in project that will launch the motor once the train is ready to be pulled up, and you even get some nice sound effects. I will use the good old Power Functions battery box this time with the motor for this one, but almost any power source or motor will work with both. One thing to clarify before I start them. The Loop Coaster is a fresh build, but the old roller coaster was sitting for almost a year like this, collecting dust, and it was moved around a lot of times. I tried to push everything in place and used compressed air to remove the dust, but it still has a higher chance to fail. I tried to use the middle crank to push the train to the start position, but it does not give enough momentum, so I will use my hand. It would be very difficult to start both at the same time, so I will try to sync the 2 halves of the video. As you can see, the Loop Coaster is quicker to finish the track, but not that much quicker. I really thought there will be a bigger difference. And, as you see, both of them can fail at different points. So, unless you are super familiar with all the weak points and you can fine-tune everything to be perfect, I wouldn't leave any of these to run constantly. The construction of the older one feels to be more vulnerable, since the chain drives the wheels on the top as well, and that puts some extra strain on it, but the Achilles heel of the new one seems to be the timing of the elevator. Sometimes the train gets stuck on the top. So, let's sum it up. I really like the look of the Loop Coaster, I love the double loops, the mechanical solution, appreciate the effort to make it more reliable. But it still does not seem to be reliable enough to be able to run it constantly, and the whole build practically has a single trick that might get boring pretty quickly. So, the big question is, does it worth 400 euros? Well, as always, it depends. If you are looking for something huge and impressive for your LEGO city that also has working functions and role-playing possibilities, then I think you won't be disappointed. If you want to get it to display at conventions and run it constantly, I'm afraid that won't work. If you are mostly interested in the technique functions, they are interesting to build but not that interesting to play with afterwards. All in all, I like both iterations. They are far from being flawless, but they provide a unique building and playing experience in the LEGO world. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up. I also suggest to subscribe with notifications as more exciting LEGO videos are coming soon. See you next time, bye bye.